Hey, it's Mark Pattison, and I am back with another episode of Finding Your Summit. And this week, we've got a guy on by the name of Andy Hnilo. And this guy is a very interesting cat, okay? So this guy lived in LA, and he's been modeling and acting. And then back in 2011, he was up in Melrose Avenue. He stepped out onto the street. He got hit not by one car, but by two cars. And for anybody to survive something like that is just absolutely amazing. So we go through this whole thing, and out of that adversity, he started mixing and matching all these different skincare health products, pretty extraordinary. And he came up with this mask, and one thing has led to another, and it's turned into this whole business. And so now he's represented in over 73 countries. He's pretty proud about that. Obviously, he should be. It's a product line that is gaining more and more traction all the time. And so we just document how he went through this journey after being smacked around, almost died, came back strong, invented, really kind of the mad scientist in the room to come up with all this different stuff. And today he's got this company called Alitera Naturals that is in full swing. So more about him in a few. And as always, remember to go in and rate and review on iTunes. You can find that link through my podcast and destination on everything else I have going on right now at www.markpattisonnfl.com. I am heading down to Vincent Massif in January of 2019. It's going to be an epic adventure. And you can also follow my journey through a Garmin GPS app that I'm going to be launching, which will be super cool. You can see the dots going up and down the mountain to see if I summit or not. I plan on doing that. And that's that. So with that said, let's go talk to Andy. Here we go. Hey, it's Mark, and I'm back with another epic episode of Finding Your Summit. And this week we've got Andy Hnilo. I did not hack that up, did I, Andy?
No, you didn't. Hey, thank you so much for having me on.
It's so great. So I'm beaming all the way from Sun Valley, Idaho. You are in LA. What part of LA are you in?
I'm in Glendale, the most underrated part of LA, in my opinion. I know that's it's a bold statement, but the sunshine, beautiful views, and the mountains right here in my essentially my backyard. So
yeah, no, it's gorgeous there. It's tucked right next to Pasadena. It gets a wee hot there during the summer, which I know you know because you're living in it right now. But you know, just beautiful, like you said, surrounded by the mountains, and as you know, that's my love. That's
right. That's right. Yep.
Hey, listen, so you've got a incredible story, and out of this adversity that you went through, you really, sounds like you launched a career I want to get into. Before we get there, I want to go back and set all this up. So we're going to kind of start with the cliffhanger of what happened, and then I want to go back a little bit. But March 20th, 2011, you woke up in the ICU after getting blasted by some cars. And, you know, I was reading about this, and I was just trying to visualize, you know, outside of me, like trying to dash across the 405, you know, like how does that happen?
Well, I just left a restaurant where my friends were, and I was about to head home waiting for my ride, and I looked down to check my phone to see if my Uber was arriving. And next thing I know, I woke up in a Cedars-Sinai ICU bed. Apparently, I was hit by a westbound heading Land Rover that hit me into the eastbound lane, and then I was run over by a Toyota Tundra. And I just had a very bad compound fracture of the whole left side of my face, to the point where the middle of my chin and just beneath my left ear was just in pieces. I had 7 broken ribs, a collapsed lung, and my clothes were cut off me in the middle of Melrose. And I know you know Melrose on a Saturday night, and that's it's pretty. Just to look back, I did about a month of just investigative. You know, I would go to different establishments, and I actually had the chance to talk to a couple people that were working at the restaurant, and they thought that, you know, they didn't remember me personally, but they definitely saw the story, saw the impact of the first responders, EMT, ambulance, fire trucks, and things like that. And they thought that the gentleman, myself, had passed away. And that's such a gripping conversation to have with someone, and definitely makes you kind of takes you back a little bit. And but that just, waking up in an ICU bed sets the tone, perspective-wise. At least it did for me, because people don't survive accidents like that. And I just had I've always had a passion and an excitement for life, but that newfound perspective and gratitude and just overall zest and excitement exponentially turned up, and that set the tone for my recovery. And it's very lucky to be here.
Yeah, that's just incredible. So I just want to make sure I heard you right. You didn't get hit by one car. You got essentially hit and then run over by another one.
Yes, 2 vehicles. I have the police report right here. It's 2 big vehicles, by the way, too. I didn't know how big a Tundra was until I pulled up next to one shortly after the accident. That was
so had that car, the first one, had that come up onto the sidewalk and like clipped you, or did you just happen to step when you were not looking and you're looking at your phone? How did that happen?
I stepped out in the middle of the street, kind of figured that cars were going to adjust to me. It was a dark area on Melrose, to the point where a lot of people, it's a horrible habit, and I don't do it anymore, but it's, you kind of think it's that, you can cross. Apparently a lot of people try to create their own crosswalk there, and that's definitely what I was trying to do. I was trying to get to the other side. I step out, look down, then boom, I got rocked.
Yeah. So, well, look, a couple of things. Number one, you see this all the time, which is you're kind of, as you said, anticipating that the drivers, when you're out in traffic, they're going to stop, they're going to see you. But, the fact is there's a lot of distractions. People are looking at their phones, they're adjusting the tunes, whatever that is. There's a lot going on. And so, especially when it's dark, I can't imagine that. I was just a side separate story, which has really nothing to do with your story exactly, but I was driving on Labor Day this last Monday to climb the highest peak in Idaho, and it was super dark. We're going along this back road to get to this destination at the base of this peak, and I came not within feet or yards or like a street distance. This was inches from getting smacked by a moose. And, those things are like your Tundra, right? I mean, they are going to like literally take you out. And I had braced for impact, and, when that happened. But anyways, that scared the tar out of me. But I can't imagine like stepping in, and then next thing you know, you're in the hospital and just completely taken out. And it's really surprising, the story that you just told, how you literally survived that to start with.
It's, I didn't, well, I definitely felt excruciating pain quite a few times along, my road to recovery, but I wish I had more information on the accident. I kept the clothes. I definitely have the report right here. I remember my nurses, my doctors, my surgeons, and the beautiful people in my support system, family, friends, and people that were around me. It doesn't, it was a very dark period of my life. That first year was rough. You got to shake yourself into perspective and just kind of to get that zest back. I lost that zest. I mean, when your jaw's wired shut, your teeth are nubs, 7 broken ribs, sneezing with 7 broken ribs is excruciating. And just not looking like yourself. You're an athlete, and just being able to walk and chew and smile, all of those things took time to be able to do again, especially the chewing correctly. I had to adjust my bite completely. I had to go see my dentist. Luckily, he had x-rays to the point where he was able to, tooth by tooth, get an image or a virtual image of what he had to do. A lot of bonding had to happen, meaning ceramic or porcelain bonding around different parts of my teeth to make sure my bite landed and sat correctly. But the problem with that is, as my jaw began to heal, it would move forward. So I'd have to go back. I still go back. I just went back to my dentist, I believe, a few weeks ago, just to kind of chip away at it to make sure it still fits. I mean, my teeth clang into each other all the time when I'm chewing, smiling. It's just those things, It's like people, they don't know. I mean, you become comfortable with being uncomfortable, and that's something that's part of resilience, and I love that. It's just I don't complain. I never really complained before, but I mean, I'm alive. I have zero room to complain, and I'm very grateful because I found my purpose and passion through it. So no complaints on my end.
No, that's great. You know, my grandfather used to say, he was pretty successful, if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. And it's so true. It doesn't matter the money, the job, you know, whatever you have going on, if you don't have that ability to walk and talk and get out and enjoy life, I mean, you're flat on your back. It's just a bad space to be in. Awesome for you for pulling yourself out of it. So
thank you.
Yeah. So now, you know, in addition to just being able to walk and talk and chew gum and function as a human, this had a serious effect on your career at the time. I'm not going to talk about the one quite yet about what came out of this, but prior to that, you were a model and actor, correct?
Yes, I was.
So you know you're going through this, and obviously when you're you know your mouth is wired shut, I mean that's probably not the best photogenic shots that you're going to want to get and be out there in the marketplace, and so that probably shut you down for a while.
It definitely did, and I didn't. So interesting story here is I booked a runway job for Macy's in Northern California with my San Francisco agent. And that was, I want to say, the first week of June that year, of 2011. So I didn't tell them. I made it my outside goal to make that job. And here we were, whatever that is, 9 weeks out, or a little under 6 to 8 weeks out. But, you know, it is being extremely goal-oriented. And, you know, I'll work as hard as I can. I'll never stop. And so every single hour of every day had a purpose as far as recovery, nutrition, just staying out of the sun, going on walks, doing little push-ups when I could, which ultimately led to going on runs and sprinting. And I got my wires out the Thursday before the runway job on Saturday, got my teeth cleaned that Friday, and boom, I showed up. I had a huge scar on the right side of my hip from road rash and point of impact, and my jaw on the left side was still pretty swollen. I mean, I could definitely tell. And people who knew me, who I've worked with, models who I'd worked with in the previous fall, they kind of gave me a little double take, and a few of them already knew about the story through like social media and things like that. But the client couldn't even tell. I mean, they thought like, oh, you got a little scar on your right side, and on your his jaw's a little. There was clearly a scar on the left side of my face as well. But it was, you know, it's noticeable to us as humans, and just being, you know, we see each other in the mirror every single day, and we notice our imperfections and things like that more than anybody does. But yeah, I made that job, and to be back doing something that everyone told me that I'd never be doing, that really helped with my personal momentum, and it was a victory. You know, it was a victory for me, and so that led to going, all right, well, I guess I can kind of do this, and I inched my way back into the acting and modeling industry, and I was working a year later. I shot a 5-page spread in Entertainment Weekly on the same day that I got hit, March 20, 2012. I'm at Smashbox Studios in LA shooting a cover spread for Christian Grey, Grey's Anatomy.
Yep.
And yeah, that's so, you know, there are a lot of little signs throughout my recovery that I just went, you know, it's all supposed to happen. And I never, you know, it just kind of, they were little victories that I kept to myself, but they were so meaningful because that momentum, as you know, it can carry you through so much.
Well, look, I was affiliated with the UCLA football team last 6 years. There was a kid that first year named Nick Pasquale, and he was a freshman. He'd gone to somewhere down Dana Point. He went to high school, then he became a walk-on at UCLA. He'd gotten to get into a game like in week 1 or week 2. Now this is about week 3, and the coach, Jim Mora, had given the team the weekend off. What ensued out of that was he went back to his hometown. He was down in Orange County, and he went out on a Saturday night, and he was coming home from a bar at 2 a.m. in the morning, did not drive, was going to walk. He stepped out onto the street, a PCH, and got smacked, and, you know, it pretty much ended it, and just tragic. Great kid, great family. You know, it's a blessing that you were able to literally be hit by 2 cars, and, you know, you're here today standing and talking and walking. And out of that adversity and out of getting smacked and laying on the pavement, then waking up in the hospital, this new career for you really ensued. Certainly in the past, you were a model and an actor, and I'm just assuming this, just like an athlete, you know, you really have to pay attention to the things that go into your body, your health, your nutrition, or everything. And so I want to talk to you now as we transition here. Like, you're coming out of all this, you're healing, you're getting back into your old rhythm, but now you somewhere in here get into this skincare product world. You ultimately end up founding Alitura Naturals, which are these products that I want to talk about in detail. How did you get onto this path?
So before the accident, I was into health and wellness and really into ingredients. When I was a kid, just throughout my whole life, I've been frail, and just from wanting to put on good weight, from not frail, but just skinny. And so just wanting to put on weight, calories, protein, fat, just year after year, I started to become very aware of nutrition and the ingredients and the products that I consumed and the products that I put on my face and body. I had a little bit of acne in college, so Clearasil led to Dove. Dove led to Aubrey Organics. Aubrey Organics led to iSun. I mean, things like that. I just became very passionate about skincare because acne and things like that could really set the tone for your day in a negative way. I just wanted to figure out a way to beat it. And so I really knew my ingredients going before the accident. And then after the accident, I knew that my face and body was going to, and my scarring especially, was going to heal best through something concocted naturally from the earth, clay-based, to help pull out impurities and create a lot of circulation to the surface of the skin while subtly exfoliating it. And then your skin is your largest organ, and it really just responds best to food-grade ingredients, I believe. And so my surgeons were recommending these creams and serums to heal my scarring that were heavily loaded in synthetics, toxins, fillers like glycerin, a lot of alcohol, and a speck of an active ingredient that was, chemically made as well. And they were very expensive too. And so I went home and I was kind of down and out, and I didn't want to leave the house. And I just started doing a lot of research on spa treatments and what they would use, but also creating my own little twist with adding certain ingredients that I'd never seen used topically before, like American ginseng, colostrum, pearl powder. And so it became my own little creative outlet. I would make these, what's now the clay mask, but it was purely just trying to reduce the inflammation by creating a lot of circulation to the surface of my skin through this, essentially a food grade meal for my skin. And clays have this amazing ability to remove heavy metals. And I had gone through a CT scan, X-rays. I had a lot of inflammation and brain fog from the antibiotics that I was on daily. And these are all things that it just shocked my system. And I was just down and out. I was just kind of a little bit of a zombie and definitely lost my zest. And I became just so passionate about holistic wellness. I met with 3 different Chinese herbalists. I would, like I said, study spa treatments. I reached out to all my esthetician friends that own med spas. And I became just extremely passionate about certain ingredients, but it was also a creative outlet for me. I mean, I really was genuinely interested in it. And they say necessity is the mother of invention. I mean, I moved everything out of my bedroom into my living room and just began to work. I went to work and just started ordering little extracts and butters and clays and never with an intent to start a business. I wanted to heal myself, and here we are. So
how do you do that though? So you're thinking about and you're talking to somebody who's totally clueless in this area.
Sure.
You are saying, I want it, like everything you just said, you want to hydrate your skin, right? And so you do that by doing X, Y, and Z. And how would you know to take, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ingredients and mix them together and come up with some kind of magic potion? I mean, how do you get the balance, the ingredients mixing with each other to create a result? How does that work?
So for instance, the clay mask, I'd been doing an existing mask every Sunday night before my week of auditions as a model and actor that consisted of, just bentonite clay, Russell clay. I think over time I added ascorbic acid, and I don't know if I added organic kelp powder after the accident or before, but I've been doing a mask that was undeniably effective previously, before the accident. So to brighten the appearance, create a lot of blood flow, release a lot of congestion around the eye area. It was extremely effective. I do it every Sunday night. So I knew I had that. And then also I was really into skincare because showing up to auditions, being ready, being 100% of the things, knowing that the things that I could control were perfected. And so that skincare was a big, you want to look like your pictures. You're in front of the casting director or writer, producers, whoever it may be on camera. You want to look your best. And so skincare is a big part of that. And so staying hydrated, health, wellness, those were all a big part of my life before the accident. So it was staring me in the face my entire life. But I mean, how do you really go about starting a business? It was never even a flicker of, light in my imagination to start a whole entire line, but it was definitely a passion, anything that can, set the tone for your day as far as looking good and feeling good. And for me, it was health, wellness, skincare, routine, and just staying consistent with that, and also very disciplined with that. I knew that was going to help accelerate the healing of me internally and externally. But as far as, yeah, you're right, with skincare ingredients, it's as far as going above and beyond with my bee products, and not just in going, all right, I would always look at sourcing. I would call companies. I would email them. I would want to know. I'd ask questions, and that's purely from a point of genuine interest. You know what I mean? So just going with the Manuka honey flower and going with 6-hour collected grass-fed colostrum rather than just regular colostrum, and just freshwater ground pearl powder from Jing herbs rather than something that is, it's something that it's hard to really put a finger on how or explain how I'm able to formulate the way I do. But I can honestly say that I do all the formulations for all my products. Actually, the night cream was made out of a cast iron pan. The clay mask was made out of that dingy little single bedroom studio apartment in North Hollywood, California. A lot of things did not work, but that the process in doing that was fun for me, and it was just, to see or feel any type of result, Mark, it was just, that was invigorating for me. And so it was just my own little secret, until a friend of mine who saw me in the ICU was completely blown away with how I looked just weeks after the accident. And she wanted to know what I was doing. And I was hesitant, but I finally, broke through and explained the mask that I created. And it's now the night cream, but this kind of, I would just do the mask and this kind of like this mixture of hyaluronic acid, colostrum, Manuka honey, beeswax, and I would melt things down in a cast iron pan, combine them. I still have the first one right here. I'm looking at it right now. It was chunky, and then I would take these formulations, and then years down the road, about 2 years down the road, get them professionally manufactured based on specific measurements of the ingredients that I finally selected. So it's the sourcing is an extreme. It's a rush for me because I don't like to use normal oils. I've had several, conversations with a little bit of a language barrier via Skype with people in Amazon, people in Ireland, France, all over the world, in search of ingredients, the hidden gems, the diamonds in the rough that people haven't heard of. And so that's if that makes sense, that's just finding certain things that produce or show type of activity topically. That's a rush for me. It still is, and it's just a hidden. I don't know if that answers your question, but
no, it does. There's so many levels to everything that you did. So there's probably level one of you're kind of this mad scientist in your apartment building in your living room, and you're trying to mix and blend all these different things. It's near and dear to you anyhow, because you're going out and you're auditioning, and these guys are, whenever you walk in, they take a picture, and you want to be the best you can be, of course. Then level two is you start to come up with a couple things that you think are working because you're trying it on your own skin. And my assumption is that now you've got your friends and family that you're giving out samples and trying to get some feedback, right?
Right. And that's exactly what it was. For about a year and a half, I would drive around town. Christina, the girl that I mentioned who saw me weeks after, she's like, well, come over. I want to try it out. And so I went over there in a little backpack and a bamboo bowl and some apple cider vinegar and a little handshaken mixture of my clay mask. And I made some for her, and I had to take off for work. And I'm like, can you just tell me like what you think? And she took a little picture of herself, and she loved it. It was a little quote unquote earthy, which I understood. I was using twice the amount of kelp powder that I currently use, and combining that with apple cider vinegar, it doesn't make for the best smelling mask, but she was like, it smells horrible, but I love it. And so I just, I kind of cut back on the kelp powder, and she told her friends, had a friend over, came back about a week or two later, and they loved it. They started, so word of mouth, purely through word of mouth. I would just drive all around town and mix up these masks for people that I didn't even know sometimes, and then just take off, wanting feedback. And just purely, it was an art. It was like making a meal. I just wanted, it was all for the love. I just wanted to know if people thought that it was as effective as I did. I mean, and then about, 6-10 months into it, I would start posting and going, hey, here's my mask. There was no name, no website, didn't ever think of selling it. I felt comfortable with kind of sharing my little creation with social media. And so
this podcast is brought to you by Laird Superfoods. Let me tell you, these creamers are so amazing. They're super tasty, super delicious, and what they are is whole, natural food ingredients mixed into these creamers. And I'm telling you, when you put this stuff into your drink, this powder substance, it is amazing. And their whole tagline is all about fueling your journey. You cannot go and actually power your way up a mountain, be in the pool, ride a big wave, unless you're properly fueled. And these guys are doing it all the right way. So where can you find this? At lairdsuperfood.com. And here's the kicker. If you use the code name MarkP20, that's MarkP20, you're going to get 20% off on your first order. So check it out, lairdsuperfood.com.
Kind of sharing my little creation with social media. And so the following year, Mary Halls, owner of Alvarado Skin Institute in La Mesa, California, down in San Diego, she's like, what's this mask you keep posting about? I want to try it. So I drove down to San Diego. She loved it, took it on her list of treatments as this nutrient-dense, mineral-rich clay mask. Didn't have a name, but that was just a total victory for me, Mark. It was just, wow, they're taking something that I made out of my apartment at the time and putting it on there, and to trust it enough to put it on their list. I mean, it was like 3 treatments for $499 or something crazy like that. And I'm like, wow, people are paying for something I made. And looking back, it may sound silly, but that's seriously, it's just like if you create anything and you get someone, you create a customer, that is so fulfilling, man. It's just people want to use your service or just something that you do. It's just that you created with your own 2 hands. It's a surreal feeling, and that hasn't left.
Well, that's awesome. And I will throw out a open invitation anytime you want to drive to Sun Valley and bring a mask and throw it on my face. So I'll put it out there. I do want to give a shout out to Christine. We both know her. She's a wonderful woman. She's a huge supporter of mine. I've never met her in person, but she sends out so much positivity. It's really, she's a bright light out there.
Hey, I'm telling okay. So I thought you had met. She is that tenfold in person. Just a light, just a shining light, and I'm grateful that I met her.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay. So now you go from you drive down and you've got a retailer that's interested in putting your product out there, and you probably got some traction with that. And then where was it where the light really flipped on? Like, you want to take this thing to the next level?
Oh, so the following year. Okay, so I reached out to Bulletproof Nutrition. Are you familiar with the Bulletproof Coffee, Dave Asprey?
I don't drink coffee either, so there you go.
Yeah, no, it's so Dave's a huge influencer in the health and wellness world, but he created this butter coffee that you combine with coconut oil, and it really just, they have a very clean coffee bean that they source, and it's just, I was using his products in my recovery, and I love his attention to detail and sourcing. I just geek out on stuff like that. So I reached out to Bulletproof in an attempt to work for Bulletproof. I troubleshooted his email address. So I found the contact email on the bottom of their support on their website. So it was like info@bulletproofexec at the time, and I troubleshooted his email address. Obviously, his name's Dave Asprey, so I just tried every combination. I just copy pasted the same email. So d.asprey, asprey.dave, David, asprey.d. I mean, you name it, 10 different combinations, and one of them went through with a before and after picture of me in the ICU, and then an after picture of like some modeling that I had done recently. Purely thanking him for creating a kick-ass product that I was using that kickstarted my road to recovery, and in an attempt to work for Bulletproof. And so one of them got back to me. Well, one of them went through, and so they got right back to me, and they brought me on board as a Bulletproof Ambassador, that was another one of those victories, And I mean, just to be representing a brand that I was already, such a fan of in a way as an ambassador. I was one of their first ambassadors, and so I got the product for free, and all I had to do was just post about it. But I was already posting about it beforehand, so it was pretty cool. And so months after that, his assistant reaches out to me. He had the #1 podcast. I think he still does. I'm talking hundreds of millions of downloads now, but at the time, I think he had like 20 million. And I'm telling you, #1 podcast in the nutrition, health, wellness, fitness, iTunes landscape. And so I was a little nervous going into that as a guest. And so there I am sitting across from him via Skype and just kind of sharing my passion towards health and wellness and resilience in my recovery from my accident. And then the last 10 minutes, he asked what I did for my skin. I wasn't prepared for that because here you are. It's just, oh man, am I going to let the whole world, especially all my athlete buddies, like I'm really into skincare and I'm making this mask, and I'm so glad I did, So I got such a response. I didn't have a website at the time. People reached out to me directly saying the most beautiful things, and then also wondering where they can purchase this clay mask that I talked about. So quickly, I had to find someone to make a website. Dave flew down to LA about a week or two later. We came to terms on an agreement. He partnered up. He was my first investor in Altura Naturals. And 4 months after that podcast, we had a product on the Bulletproof website, the same website that I was purchasing from just months before. It still really hasn't hit me, and I don't care if it ever does. I've just been kind of riding that wave of momentum and adrenaline ever since. And so to be working with a partner and someone that you kind of idolize, it's pretty surreal. But he put it on his site, and now we're in 76 countries. We have 21 products, and it's pretty surreal to me. But at the same time, I don't really take too much time to think about it. I'm go.
Yeah. So were you tapping into the expertise of people in the retail? Because I started a company many years ago called Front Porch Classics, and it was venture backed and ultimately sold. We were in 700 different retail locations, 7 countries, and there was definitely a learning curve of how to approach Costco to Walmart to Target to Nordstrom's to Macy's. Everyone had their own certain sales cycle and how to get purchase orders to go through, and there was inventory that we had manufactured, and we had to float all the products across on these containers. I mean, there's a whole huge process behind it. So how did you tap into that to really leverage what you are, which is a creator, to the infrastructure that it costs to produce all these things?
So I have to tell you, you're way more advanced at that than I am right now. So distribution, third-party distribution, all of that is something we've explored. Right now, we're a smaller company. We're exploring that as far as distribution and getting out into the larger, the Sephora's, Ulta. Those are all huge goals of mine, as well as Barney's, Bloomingdale's, Macy's, Nordstrom's. Huge goals. We're direct to consumer. That is our bread and butter. We're in several retail locations, as well as we have hundreds of wholesale partners all around the world. But those are still, I have 6 employees. We're small to medium right now, I'd say, range. And to get those larger distribution relationships, that's the goal. We're a little over 4 years into it, and believe me, maybe you can give me some advice on the infrastructure and how to properly execute that. But yeah, we're working on that. That's the next step. And when things happen, I'm confident that we'll be ready for that level. But it's for right now, it's just through Amazon Prime, and mostly our website, direct to consumer, is 99.8% of our revenue.
That's great. No, that's fantastic. And the thing that's such a beautiful story about all this is that you took some adversity, and coming out of that, you turned a kind of a personal journey, a personal passion into a business. And you're feeling very purposeful, because at the end of the trail of all this, it's really all about putting all natural skin products on your face, on your body, that are there to make us all feel better and look better, and all those things that go along with it. And there's a lot of satisfaction, especially when you get these positive feedback from people out there, like, it changed my life, or I feel so much better, or I look, or this. But it's such a wonderful thing that you're doing, and being able to monetize off that passion. It's super authentic. Your whole story is.
Thank you. It's you nailed it. The impact is everything for me. The reviews give me, I got to be honest, the reviews give me a bigger rush than sales. I've never got a set of goosebumps through a paycheck. I get goosebumps through the before and afters, and that's the honest to God truth. I cannot tell you how much it means to me to have people just using something that I created and just made from scratch, and I just, that's it. Just before this accident, just before I launched, I was working nightlife, paycheck to paycheck, month to month, and that meant, believe me, that mentality, that's how I'm wired. That's how I still am, mentally. But to have something to call my own that's impacting people and helping people feel better about themselves when they look in the mirror, that's what it's all about, and that's why I do this. And I cannot tell you how good that feels.
Yeah. And are you still modeling, acting, or is that those days behind you?
No, I still am. And I'm very, specific with my agents as far as what I want to be submitted for. And it's baseball related stuff. It's roles. They are roles that are close to me as far as whether it's TV, episodic, guest star, co-star, series regular, anything. Aliteur is my passion. Health and wellness. I eat, breathe, and sleep this. Acting is a little bit like homework for me. And but I'll tell you what. Even just 2016, I had a small role on Fox's Pitch, the show where Kylie Bunbury was the first woman major leaguer, and so I played Theo Falcone on that. So I'm still in it technically, and I'll probably get back into it when this business starts running itself a little bit more. But I'm right where I'm supposed to be. I still model and act, but I get more of a thrill through Aliteur and Naturals. That's the truth.
Yeah, that's great. Well, look, for most people out there, I'm sure it's like 99% of them, it is paycheck to paycheck, and you get residuals from commercials and how that whole world works. It is what it is, and you need to be in it for the love of the game, not necessarily for the paycheck, because you just don't know when it's going to come or when it's go. But it's great that you've got other options that are out there, and certainly the skincare line, you're doing so much good out there, and gives you, sounds like, a ton of upside in terms of where you can really take this whole thing too.
Yeah, I love numbers, right? And I love creating, whether it's food, whether it's clothing, whether it's kind of, creating an Aliteur, a fitness, nutrition app, meal plans, customized workouts. My brain is constantly firing, but it's about executing on those ideas that come up, right? And so I'm really glad that unfortunately the accident happened, because it rocked me right into where I'm supposed to be, and giving an opportunity to kind of share my story that led to something and a career that I have, and a job that I love, and that, just a staff that I work with, that I work for, and a team of investors that are my brothers. And I just, I'm right where I'm supposed to be. Don't get me wrong, acting and modeling, especially shooting down at Petco Park and standing in the same box that, some of my heroes, the batter's box that some of my heroes stepped in, and filming and working with, Mark Paul Gosselaar, who I grew up, seeing on Saved by the Bell. There's a big love and passion there too. And so that's the beauty of life. You don't have to just kind of zero in on one thing. There are a lot of different things that I plan on exploring, and that's what it's all about, right? Yeah,
no, that's great. And, I can make light of this because you survived it and you've got a great story come out of it about being hit, but now you know what it's like to be hit by Lawrence Taylor times 10 when you got hit by the car. So that's what
it used to be. Have you been hit, really?
Well, yeah. I played against Ronnie Lott and all these guys. Yeah, no, it was insane. So, listen, where can people find these products?
That's awesome, by the way. AlitureNaturals.com. That's ALITURANATURALS.com. Aliture is Latin for feeding and nourishing, your skin being your largest organ. So that's where we came up with that. So, but also I want to offer a 20% discount to you and your following. We'll just call it, what do you want to call it, Summit or Mark, or I can do whatever you want.
Finding Your Summit.
Finding Your Summit. Done.
Yep. So, that's the code,
we'll
Finding Your Summit. Go to AlitureNaturals.com, punch in Finding Your Summit, and you're going to get 20% off. I love it.
I really have to thank you. I'm so glad I came across Christine. She put me in touch with you, and I'm actually going to take you up on that offer out in Sun Valley. It's one of my favorite places to visit, and any excuse to come back. So I'll be bringing clay mask and maybe some serum nitrate as well.
That's awesome. All right. He is Andy Hnilo, and he is the founder of Alitura Naturals. It's a great conversation, and more importantly, so happy that you survived that car crash, and you're here today to talk about it. Okay?
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that.
All right, buddy. Take care. Hey, and thank you so much for listening to the Find Your Summit podcast. We are so glad to have you along for this journey. And if you enjoy the show, please tell a friend, share it on iTunes, spread it to the planet. We're looking to broadcast this to every person that is out there because, as you know, everybody has their own summit that they're going after. Okay, if you're looking to follow my journey, you can find that through my social links on markpattisonnfl.com. That's Mark, M-A-R-K, Pattison, P-A-T-T-I-S-O-N, NFL.com. So, until the next podcast, just remember, clear eyes, full hearts, and remember, it takes a little more to make a champion, so make it happen. Thank you. Bye.